Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our eBay broadcast tonight. Want to talk about a very specific topic, and that is one of the biggest, I suppose, one of the biggest weaknesses to doing some drop shipping while you're doing eBay is the out of stock issue. And what do I do with it, right? For those of you guys who are here with me live, how many of you guys have dealt with one time or many times an out of stock issue with a supplier? You guys had that problem before? Because I would say it is it's the weakness, right? It's the hole or the chink in the armor. Uh, the problem is when you're doing drop shipping, you don't control your inventory in its entirety, right? In fact, you don't control your inventory at all. It belongs to somebody else. It's in their warehouse. They handle it. You don't handle it, right? So it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's why we do drop shipping. It's what we like. We don't want to have to carry inventory and manage it. But at the same time, the downside of that is you are going to have an occasional out of stock issue, meaning somebody buys an item and you go to get it or order it from your supplier, and guess what? It's not there. It's out of stock. The price may be changed, right? And you can't get it at what you want it for. And you're left holding the bag, so to speak. And you've got a customer that needs their item. So the question is, what do we do when this happens? So I'm going to assume here, just for the sake of our training tonight, um, that we were selling a desk from Target. Okay. And when we were selling this desk from Target, it was about $150. In fact, I'm just going to write this down so you guys have it as an example. $150 desk. Okay. And we'll say it sold for $225 on eBay, but when we go to buy it, it's out of stock. Now what? Right? So what are our options at that point, guys? Besides panic and contact your coach, right? Because that's usually what happens. It's like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. I got to contact my coach. And you guys send us a panicky email like, oh no, I'm in big trouble. I don't know what to do. I can't get my item to my customer, right? First of all, if you've gone through that, it's okay to panic. I think we all panicked on our first time that happened. But once we panic and we're done panicking and we've got our head on our shoulders and we're thinking, what are our options at that point? What can we do? And let's list them. One, what's the first thing you should do? Because I think there's a real order to this. I'm going to suggest the first thing you do is google.com/shopping and look for it somewhere else. Or I think the tool I've shown you guys in the past, well, I say in the past, it was really just last week. Um, we can use the tool called Price Blink. And I'm just going to put Chrome extension in parentheses. If you don't know what that is, talk to your coach about it. But in other words, like we're going to go look for it somewhere else, right? Because a lot of times when you're purchasing something online, while you may be purchasing it from your supplier, it's not often the case that that's the exclusive seller. That there's other retail suppliers that are selling it. So you got it off of Amazon, or in this case, in our example, it was Target that was selling this desk. But in reality, we went to google.com/shopping and we did a search for the product, and we found that Walmart had it, Kohl's had it, and eBay had it. And by the way, guys, if you find the same item on eBay, can you purchase it off of eBay and then have your eBay seller send it to your customer? Is that something you can do? Meaning use eBay as one of your suppliers? Does that work in this strategy? Yeah, you bet it does. You bet it does. So use eBay. Okay? But by using Google Shopping here and searching for the item's title, Google Shopping will quickly scour the internet and find where this item might be sold elsewhere. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's say you find the item, right? But the price is higher, meaning you're going to maybe break even or even lose money. What do you guys do at that point? And how do you make that decision? Well, can I offer you just a suggestion? If you're new to this, and even if you're not for that matter, but especially if you're new and you're trying to keep a good, clean track record, can I suggest if you're going to break even or even lose a couple of bucks, that you still buy it from the supplier and take that small loss just to keep your customer happy? Remember, we've got to approach this like this is a long-term business, right? So let's not stumble over a couple of dollars and make our customer mad when we could break even or lose a couple of bucks and take care of them. I think that makes good sense. Now, if we're talking about the difference between canceling the transaction and losing money, and losing a lot of money, then I'm gonna say cancel the transaction. But worst case scenario is canceling the transaction. We don't want to have to do that if we can avoid it. It's not the end of the world if you have to do it, but let's try to avoid it. Okay. All right. So, bottom line on this one, I guess I should say search for it elsewhere, right? That's number one. Number two, how about we consider offering an alternative? Okay. And what that means is if I sold this desk, but let's say the desk was in like a walnut, but the walnut was out of stock, but the cherry was still available. Rather than just canceling the order, why not, before you do that, let the customer know that while walnut is no longer an option, we can still get it to you for the same price in cherry. In fact, we can get it to you for even a better price in cherry. Maybe you knock off a few bucks, and just for the hassle and the inconvenience, you contact the seller via eBay and you let them know that that's their option. Okay. Empower your customer. Give them an option. You know, a lot of times just by offering an alternative, you can save the sale. It's like when they buy the two-person green tent with a certain brand name and that one's gone and it's nowhere on the internet, but the orange one is available and it's the same brand and it is basically the same tent, but the color is orange. Offer them the orange one. Let them know that the green one's gone and it's nowhere to be found, but the orange one's available, to try to save the sale. But when you contact them to make that offer, be sure that you send them an email and say, hey, um, and apologize too. I want you to sound apologetic in your email, but be like, hey, you know what? We just found out the green's out of stock. We feel terrible about it. We scoured the internet, couldn't find it anywhere else. Good news though, the orange one's available, so we'll go ahead and give that to you if you'll take it. Otherwise, we're more than happy to refund and cancel the transaction. And then you let the customer decide. And there's something very empowering about giving your customer an option. They feel like they get to choose rather than you choose for them, and that's nice. Okay. And more than often, or more than you would probably believe, um, they're quite happy to take the alternate. And I think that's just smart business. Okay. So offer an alternative. Um, you could offer to send it when it comes back into stock. Okay, is another option. So, and by that I mean, I should put this at the start. Contact your supplier to get an ETA. Okay, sometimes you can contact your supplier and they'll actually tell you, hey, we're actually getting these back online on Monday the 12th. And then you can in turn save the sale on eBay by saying, hey, it's not in right now, just ran out, can't find it anywhere that'll ship it, but it's back in on Monday the 12th and we'll get it for you for sure if you still want it. And you give options to the customer, okay? Try to save the sale, right? Because let me tell you guys something. By canceling too many orders, and right, isn't that worst case? Let's just put that as number 4 here. Number 4, we'll say cancel transaction, okay? Go into eBay and do an official cancellation. So usually that means you go into the item that you sold on eBay and there's a spot to resolve a problem and there's a spot to cancel the transaction and you can go ahead and cancel it there. And then it'll send over a notice to your customer and they'll likely approve that cancellation and then it'll be done. Now, if you structure that the right way, you can structure it to where it shows that the buyer accepted the cancellation and it doesn't go as a strike against your account. So you'll see that when you have an opportunity. We don't, we don't want to be dishonest for sure, and I'm not advocating that you are. But the problem is, if you officially cancel the transaction with eBay, and you need to do that, by the way, you can't just cancel it via email with the customer and then call it good. Because if you do that and you don't officially cancel it with eBay, eBay will still charge you the 10% final value fee. And in this example, 10% on a desk that you sold for $225 is still a nice little chunk of money, right? That's $22.50, which you're going to get an invoice for at the end of the month. So you have to cancel it officially with eBay to avoid getting charged that 10%. So make sure you do that, okay? I've had too many of my clients over the years that at the end of the month, they get their invoice and they're like, why do I owe eBay so much money? And then when they look through it, they're like, hey, wait a minute, eBay charged me 10% on an item that I never even really sold. I didn't fulfill on the order. And then when I dig in with them, I find out that they never officially canceled the transaction with eBay. So you've got to make sure that you do that. So, I mean, number 4 is kind of your last option, right? Cancel it if you must. And truthfully, it's going to happen. Even the very best eBay sellers have to go through some cancellations. But we just hope that those don't happen very much. Because if you show eBay a pattern of transactions that get canceled for whatever reason, they reserve the right to restrict, suspend, or completely ban your eBay account if they see a recurring pattern. Okay. And for you, the question I always get is, well, Trevor, I'm starting to see a pattern with some of my suppliers. I'm seeing that some of my suppliers, when I list their items, say that the item is in stock. And then when I go to buy it, it's just always out of stock or the pricing is constantly changing. Well, if you're seeing that on a somewhat regular basis, then my advice to you is get a new supplier. You can't afford that kind of hit and miss when you're in drop shipping, especially on eBay, where you get a limited number of chances, right? So switch your supplier, right? Not, I mean, we'll teach you to use some major retail suppliers when you're first learning, but in the end, you ought to have your own list of suppliers you're working off of that you've got a good relationship with. Some will even give you information about how much inventory that they have in stock. And while others won't give you any information at all, but if you see some kind of a recurring pattern with one supplier, you gotta sever that tie and use another supplier. Okay. So, guys, that's my 2 cents on this. And no, it's never fun. Canceling transactions, nobody likes doing it. It's a little bit, or can be a little bit of a headache. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, this shouldn't be happening that often. You should be canceling transactions every once in a while, but having lots of really great, successful transactions in between those types. And you'll make a lot of money doing it if you do this the right way. But the key to drop shipping, really isn't in picking the perfect product or getting the lowest price. I always say it's in finding just a good, consistent, lesser known supplier that you can depend on. And you get a few of those, you list a lot of their stuff, and you guys can do real well at this. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful to you. Good luck with your cancellations. May they be few and far between. And if you need any help, be sure to contact your coach. We're certainly more than glad to help you out. Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. And thanks for being here.